Hello, welcome to the 1 to 11 podcast, where myself, Paul, and my brother John, hello, will be writing a love letter to football. We're going to be doing this by creating a team based on a theme. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be continuing our run through the Premier League. It is the 30-year anniversary of the Premier League. And what we wanted to do was we were having a look at the impact of foreign players on the Premier League. Now, we just wanted to do one more around timescales with this, and this was the period of 2004 to 2012. Because after this point, it's the done thing to have a...
Well, it's the petrochemical state, isn't it, of ball clubs. Foreigners are quite... they're everywhere.
You have a diverse squad.
I don't want to sound so Brexit there. Apologies, that's really bad. But yeah, you know, it's
And bloody foreigners.
coming in, making our players better,
Improving the quality of our play.
yeah, giving me better value for money when I go watch a football team. I want to watch them throw it, kick it 50 yards.
Then again, I was watching a Rory Delap.
Same.
The highlights of his throw-ins.
Yeah.
I was fucking mesmerised for 3 minutes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So-
So we wanted to go to...
so this is the bit between, effectively, Abramovic coming in and the petrostate dollars just flooding the transfer market. You know, back when £30 million for a forward seemed like quite a lot of money, rather than, well, that's just what you need if you want a sub, innit? Anyway, sorry.
It's this is being filmed at a time where there's some very surprising transfers. Now, United buying Casemiro. Casemiro was a multiple Champions League winner, part of this amazing three-man midfield. I get it, but 70 million quid for a 30-year-old is odd.
Yes.
Morgan Gibbs-White going to Nottingham Forest for, in total, 42. I know it won't meet everything within the 42 because...
I think to get to 42, they have to qualify for the Europa League.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if they do, then both parties are going to be very happy because Wolves will make some money and Forest are in the Europa League. So,
Yeah, and they probably don't need to sell Ruben Neves anymore.
well, yeah, and they have bought Nunes,
Yes.
who looks absolutely brilliant.
And Goncalo Guedes.
Goncalo Guedes, yeah.
The Portugal national team, based out of Wolverhampton, are doing very
They're
well.
doing very well. But this was a time before basically super agents ran a club.
Yeah, and I think this is the last point where, for me, this is the last era of you couldn't go onto YouTube and look up highlights of that player. You had to rely on what you'd read about the player.
Yeah.
You know, not wanting to come across incredibly old. Oh, modern football's rubbish. Modern football is fantastic.
Oh,
But there's...
It seemed about 2010, 2012 as well, when you'd be linked with a player and someone would go, oh, you don't want him, he's only 76 on FIFA. And you'd be like, what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. It's when you think Man United had, Juventus bought in a 55 rated centre defensive mid from Man United, and
Yeah. That was Paul Pogba.
this is a time where foreign players came in, had to have done something.
Yeah.
Or there was something special to them. It wasn't just like, this is the Egyptian national right back.
It's
Ahmed El Mohamed, he's had a fantastic time in the Premier League. Not to disrespect him.
But no, I know what you mean. It's because it's now cheaper to bring in, a Swedish right back than buy someone from the Championship.
Yeah. I mean, like Jed Spence costing 15 million is... But I hope, I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he's fantastic. And
I'm sure he will be. Like, he's in the right place.
We don't need another great English right back. Why have we got so many good right backs?
The nice thing is, we now have a great... Looks like another great left back. because Sessegnon's becoming good again. So that is great, because bizarrely, Chelsea have now made it more difficult for Chilwell by signing another left back. So,
I think there's, as always with this is not the definitive list. This is something this is our opinion.
Yeah.
We value other people's opinion. And John, where could they give us that opinion?
You can find us on Twitter at the 1 to 11 pod. You can find us on Facebook at the 1 to 11 podcast, and you can find us on Instagram at the 1 to 11 pod. Our email is in the show notes.
Exactly. And we'd very much like to hear people's opinion. So if you feel it's absolutely criminal that we've forgotten someone, I'm not saying call it out. Don't harass us on social media, but
say hello.
Talk to us. Say hello.
If you've got a team you'd like to put in, let us know.
Absolutely. We're very open. So I'm going to go for a 4-4-2 with this because I am a horrible old relic of football at the age of 35.
Mine's based on a 4-4-2.
So you've gone for a very attacking 4-4-2.
Yes.
Because you wanted to bring in wingers.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the keeper, and if there is another person you have here other than this man, I will be amazed. And also, just for intrigue, we don't see who each other have picked.
No. We turn up on the day, and we the first time we talk about it is when we mention their name. But if it's not Petr Cech, you're a liar.
It's got to be Petr Cech.
It was so good.
This was. I think the other thing that amazes me with him is he came back from a fractured skull in this time as well, and was still amazing.
If you'd have said Van der Sar, I'd have understood, because he was brilliant. His last years when he went to Man United, even his days at Fulham, he was brilliant. But Cech was better.
Yeah, and I think in some ways it's a little bit soured by the time after this, because him at Arsenal, he wasn't as good as he was. But he was...
The team around him wasn't as good.
Yeah, when you've got Per Mertesacker in front of you, you've got to worry.
Squillaci in front of you, you're gonna concede goals, and that's what Arsenal do. They are a different team. They will concede goals because they think that they can score more than you.
I mean, the Mourinho Chelsea team I don't know, we've spoken about the Mourinho Chelsea quite a lot in this. You'd think we were Chelsea fans, we're not.
Well, no, God no.
Farthest from it. But that Mourinho Chelsea team had this rock solid defence that you have to get through and then get to one of the world's best goalkeepers just hurts.
Yeah.
You take Thibaut Courtois. So bought to Chelsea to replace Petr Cech and couldn't.
Yeah, he's probably down as one of the top 5 keepers in the world now. But I mean, if you wanted to give a guy a sort of the worst way of introducing a player, that is it. Because you don't want to be replaced. No one wants to replace Fergie. No one look at the trouble Arsenal had replacing Seaman, Schmeichel. These great goalkeepers,
leviathans of goalkeeping.
But they are. We're talking about the greats of the game, and it's so hard to replace them. And even someone like a Courtois struggled. I mean, it's taken. Chelsea have gone through Courtois, Aditha Balaga, to get to Mendy.
And Mendy seemed like a bit of a flyer.
Yeah. I still think there's a Rick in Mendy. I think he makes some silly decisions every so often, but he's much more solid than Aditha Balaga.
You just wanted to say that again, didn't you?
But they paid what?
72 million.
72 million for him.
For who?
Aditha Balaga.
Right.
Courtois they sold for 30 million. So you're talking about that's £110 million worth of talent to looking into replacing Cech. And I still don't think Mendy's good, but he's not as good as Cech.
I think
just the game's changed.
Him winning the Champions League kind of helped.
But I mean, did he save a penalty in the final
of the African nations? Yeah, which he won recently.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. But I think Cech is in probably the top 3 goalkeepers I've seen in my lifetime.
He had no flaws.
No, he wasn't. if you played now, he's not particularly great with his feet.
But
He's not a sweeper keeper.
But he didn't need to be.
At the time, he didn't need to be. As well, yeah, he was playing that game with worse players than he was at Chelsea when he tried it. But I'm a huge Czech fan. I think it's very few players I think that could oust Van der Sar in that period, but that's the one.
I completely agree. I'm going to go with right back next because I will put money on the fact that you don't have my right back.
Well, I think you could probably put money on the fact that I've probably picked Bakary Sagna because I'm a big Bakary Sagna fan.
You've always been a big fan of Bakary Sagna. Arsenal had, during this period of time, Lauren, Abue, Sagna, who were very, very good quality right backs. But for me, I've gone for someone who I didn't want to just have this kind of the joy of having a dog in the house when you podcast. I didn't want to have this kind of I can't think of like masturbatorium of the big six.
Yes.
So I've gone for Pascal Chimbonda.
Do you know what? His year at Wigan was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he started off at Tottenham okay. It went wrong, but yeah. Do you know what? I forgot about him. I will not lie, but he was brilliant for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The thing I liked about Pascal Chimbonda is he moved to Tottenham after Wigan.
Yeah.
Played for Sunderland, moved back to Tottenham, Blackburn, QPR. He got Premier League Team of the Year for his time at Wigan. Was fantastic at Wigan. I really liked Pascal Chimbonda.
That's nice because actually, I mine are very. How many teams are here? 1, 2, 3 teams.
I was very keen to, like I say, avoid the masturbatorium of the big six. Now, clearly, there's some great players in this big six in this time, but I went for Pascal Chimbonda.
No, I like that. I've gone for Sagna because I struggle to think of anyone other than Sagna. Back when, so between 2006 and 2011, I lived in London with Arsenal fans, so I was sort of I was brainwashed into not supporting Arsenal because I'm a Leeds fan, but I was brainwashed into admiring Arsenal during a time when they didn't win anything, but I just loved watching them. On their day, they were so brilliant. Should have won the league a couple of times, like the sort of, everyone remembers the Gallas protest on the pitch at Birmingham when it all just went wrong. But I'm not that I'm unhappy with Sagna, but I do like that Chimbonda pick. I think that's good.
Sagna was fantastic, and one of the key when Man City were building their team. Obviously, they took very specific parts of Arsenal. One of them being Bakary Sagna, Gael Clichy, Adebayor,
Kolo Touré.
The list can go on. Now Samir Nasri.
Good player.
Great player. Doesn't make the team. No. Mainly because of drip doctors. Completely after this time period. But
actually, he doesn't make the team just because he's not as good as the other players in the team. The drip doctors actually... and I quite like the fact that he turned up, as a big lad recently. It was a charity game. Yeah. He looked like he's enjoying life. I don't think he's having any drips anymore.
No. I'd like to see a midfield of him and Sneijder play now.
Yes. But yeah.
So, no doubt, great defender.
Yeah.
Should we go to the left back?
Yes.
Because if you've not chosen Patrice Evra, you're an idiot.
Well, funny you should mention that. I've gone for Patrice Evra. Yeah. It was. I can only think of John Arisa in this time as someone to rival him, or Gael Clichy. Gael Clichy was fine.
Gael Clichy was good, but
and John Arisa
And
had a great shot on him. But Patrice Evra was just after a shaky first few, like he joined in December, didn't he?
yes.
After a shaky first few months, he just became the best left back in the Premier League that's not called Ashley Cole.
Yeah, exactly that. He just had a great going forward. Great, just this motor in him that I've not seen in many other left backs who aren't named Ashley Cole.
Yeah, just he was great. He could defend. You could tell he'd started as well as a winger, sort of, because he was great on the overlap. And I mean, it was a great Man United team he played for. He tried to come back, didn't he, with West Ham? He just wasn't the same, but he was older.
And he also had attacked a fan.
Yeah.
And before then. So, yeah, I loved him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like him as a pundit.
I like him as a pundit. I like him as a personality. He's as a pundit. He's good. He doesn't seem to call out everyone but his own mates.
Yeah.
Which is starting to annoy me. And he's never spat at a young child out of his 4x4 car.
Then that's something.
But he has licked a raw chicken for some reason.
But that makes me like him more. So
yeah, but no, Patrice Evra was just like if you were to do an all-time Premier League team, he'd probably be the second left back after Ashley Cole.
Yeah, I'd agree.
A consensus pick. Who you got him in defence? Because I get the feeling we might have some similarities here.
The first one is Ricardo Carvalho.
Yeah, I got Ricardo Carvalho.
He legitimised Chelsea for me because he bought what Mourinho had with that.
Yeah.
And he made John Terry a better player. He made Petr Cech a better player. He made everyone around him a better player. And the interesting thing with him is just he wasn't the tallest.
No. He was as a physical specimen. He's quite unremarkable in the nicest possible way, which is going to do him down. But he's 6 foot.
There's taller.
There's quicker.
Yeah, he wasn't the quickest. But he was quick enough.
Quick enough. There's better footballers. He's not Rio Ferdinand.
He had a bit of what Thiago Silva has. Just
he was smarter than you.
He knew what you were going to do. He could just stop you. Just a good old fashioned stopper.
I mean, the fact that he was playing until basically he was 38.
Yeah. For Monaco.
Like at 35 he was still playing for Real Madrid. The guy is he was cerebral.
He was a very, very good player. Someone who just got it.
Yeah.
You see players who struggle to assimilate to the Premier League, and it seemed from the moment he got there, he got it.
He got it. I just get the feeling he could have played anywhere for anyone, and he just made them better. He was brilliant.
Yeah, and he kind of summed up why Chelsea was so good in that period. So I'm guessing we've got the same person alongside him. He's from Serbia. He's gonna murder you, Nemanja Vidic.
Yeah, we have. So it's tough when you can't fit Vincent Kompany into a team because Vincent Kompany is brilliant. But for me,
kind of really hit his peak after 2012.
Yeah. Whereas Nemanja Vidic, just so good. So, how much did you pay for him?
7 million quid from Spartak Moscow.
I mean, that must go down as one of the bargains of the century, quite frankly. I mean, you would if you... Did you make money on him? I don't know.
No. I believe he went to Inter on a free.
Yeah. He joined him at the end of his contract. And I guess by that time he was getting a little slower. But just a monster. I mean, the only weakness he had was Fernando Torres.
Yeah, Fernando Torres always had his number.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as you weren't playing Liverpool, he was an absolute stalwart, and just it's the thing is as well, because we've picked 2004. This is when Leeds were no longer in the Premier League, so it's always hard for me because it's when I had to start casting envious eyes, because at the same time we've got Scott Wootton.
Who you took from us?
We did. In midfield, I remember on the first day of the might have been, so the first year we went up, so probably that's 2011, and you're looking at a midfield of Paul Green, Michael Tong, Michael Brown, and Luke Varney. And you're like, where and you're looking at looking across, and my brother supports Man United, and he's looking at
winning the Champions League.
And you've got Ronaldo, Hargreaves, Park Ji-sung, Nani, all these sort of full internationals. It's a really horrible time.
Strangely, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, but Vidic was always just I like a hard man, and he was a particularly hard footballer.
Because everything has to be ranked nowadays on social media, and you can only keep 3. It was that kind of culture. I don't think people put enough respect on Nemanja Vidic, because Premier League Player of the Season, for a centre back to win that twice.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
fair enough. I mean, the fact is as well, he doesn't him, Ferdinand, and Van der Sar hold the record for longest clean sheet.
Longest time without conceding.
Yeah, before
same thing.
Yeah, before I think eventually Van der Sar scored an own goal against Newcastle, or was it?
1,300 something minutes,
breaking the record by Petr Cech, and just they were brilliant. I can't. I have a funny relationship with Man United, obviously, and I hate Rio Ferdinand, but Vidic made Ferdinand brilliant, because he could cover for
Ferdinand going forward,
and especially as Ferdinand got older and he didn't do that as much, they just became very solid defenders. It was just a brilliant team. Fucking bastards. But yeah. So yeah, I haven't included Vincent Kompany.
I think Vincent Kompany got good at the very end of that period, and him becoming the backbone of that City team kind of for me happened just after that point.
Yeah. But yeah, so we move into midfield.
Yes.
Where do you want to start in midfield?
Probably where we're going to fucking match, in the centre. Cesc Fabregas is where we're going to start.
So
I wanted a Spaniard.
Yeah.
And I thought either Cesc Fabregas or Xabi Alonso. Now, Xabi Alonso, I thought was fantastic at Liverpool, but there's one problem. He played for Liverpool.
It's not even that. I think he was fine at Liverpool. I think he got good at Madrid and even better at Bayern. His best years are actually outside the Premier League.
Yeah, I think he's a very, very good player.
Yeah.
But for me, Cesc Fabregas just came into a very good team, and people don't appreciate how good a team he was coming into.
Well, he came into a team as a 15-year-old, but he was do you know the last time Arsenal won the first 3 games of the season? Well,
no.
They scored in those 3 games. I think they scored 12 goals, but of them, there were goals scored by Henry, Perez, the cream of the crop of Arsenal, and including a very young 16-year-old Cesc Fabregas, and he came into an astounding team. Playing alongside Patrick Vieira, then
Gilberto Silva,
and then within a couple of years, Vieira was sold, and he replaced him effectively as the linchpin in that team. And
He had just a range of passing and a vision of passing I've not seen another player have. You could talk about De Bruyne. De Bruyne is playing in a team of megastars.
Yeah.
Fabregas didn't play with some good players towards the end of that Arsenal time. I also appreciate he got... Arsenal were in a Champions League final. He was supplying Thierry Henry. They were still good players. But he elevated people. And
He did. I used to... After seeing him live, I've never known anyone being able to hold the ball as long. His pass was literally just as being tackled, and he did it it's the sort of thing I think Wilshere tried to do, and basically that's why he has retired by the age of 30, because he just wasn't as good at it because he'd get fouled. Fabregas just had that, he could hold it, move it, and it was just so brilliant to watch. And he went to Barcelona, and it's strange, isn't it? He won basically everything whilst there, but you wouldn't say it was the most successful time, though, would you? When he came back, Arsenal also could have signed him. That part of their deal was their first release on his thing when they chose Sanchez instead.
Yeah. Obviously, he was very, very good, and I think Arsenal came to regret that decision very quickly with him coming into Chelsea and just becoming the assist master. But he had everything you wanted, and the Barcelona team of Guardiola that had just wiped the floor with United.
Yeah,
he was thought to improve that team.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be a very good player to think this guy can improve this unbelievable team.
The thing is as well, I know the false nine. I've never known anyone play the false nine quite like Fabregas. And I think the thing is, you can see why Man United used Eriksen in the false nine, because the false nine is a really hard position to play, and you need to be a smart footballer. But no one was as good at it as Fabregas. He was just brilliant.
The fact that Spain had to find a place to fit him in because he was that good, when you've got the Xavi, Iniesta, Alonso, and everyone else.
Well, up front you had Torres, Villa, all these class players. Even as well Mata, all these great players that they could have used.
Silva,
and they forced Fabregas into a sort of straight, a sort of foreign position that he excelled in. So I think it's forgotten just how brilliant he was, because I don't know why. I don't know if it's because his last year at Chelsea was he looked a yard off.
I think,
and then he went to Monaco, and now he's playing in Como.
He suffers because he's a 76 on FIFA now in people's mind.
Yeah,
because he's got 34 pace on FIFA or something ridiculous.
Yeah, no, but brilliant as well. Really good pundit, and I hope he'll be at the World Cup, because he is good, really good.
I mean, also he's won everything, so how can you?
His Twitter's good as well.
Yeah,
he basically
highlights anybody who praises him.
Yeah, but no, he's every so often he'll do a little tactical thing, and he's obviously, he knows it. So I imagine he'll probably make a good coach later in his career.
So alongside him, a man who, and I've just looked across and see you've got the same person.
Well, I've got him in the Makelele position.
Yeah, you have to be a special player to have your own position. If you take American football, the Revis Island.
Yeah, he is
unmatched.
Unmatched.
The man with 3 legs. Because of his stamina.
Exactly.
And possibly because he had a giant cock. But
we're not against that.
The man who had unlimited stamina, Claude Makelele. Now, you take that Galacticos team, you take Makelele out of it, they start to suffer. You bring Makelele into Chelsea and they win the league twice.
Yeah.
You bring Makelele into PSG and they start... He's one of the players they first brought in to start the process of the petrostate.
Yeah.
But
No, brilliant.
he had everything.
Yeah, I mean, apart from shooting, but that he didn't because
He didn't need to.
because it
He
was
didn't
very
need to.
rare he was within 30 yards of the goal. But no, like, do you remember? I think what Zidane said about him when they sold him? Because they sold Makelele to fund Beckham, and I think Zidane said, "What's the point of giving the car more gold paint if you're going to take away the engine?" I think in McManaman's book, I think he's basically saying he was the most important part of that team, but also the least appreciated, and that's one of the reasons he left, because basically Zidane was on big money, Figo was on big money, Beckham was going to come in on big money, and he wasn't seen by I imagine it was Florentino Perez at the time. He wasn't seen as a Galactico, and he wasn't getting paid what they were getting. When Ranieri brought him in, he was very good in that first season, but I think it took Mourinho to the sort of the 4-3-3 playing behind Lampard and Essien to really just take that, make him just what became the Makelele position. And what a player!
I like Arrigo Sacchi. This is obviously just off his Wikipedia page, but we knew that Zidane, Raul and Figo didn't track back, so we had to put a guy in front of the back four who'd defend. And what a brilliant way to kind of learn your craft. Obviously very good playing for Celta Vigo before and everything else. But to just retrieve the ball, pass it to an amazing player. What a career to have of just literally retrieve the ball, pass it sideways to someone phenomenal.
Well, that's all he ever did. Because I mean, every time even when he went to sort of Paris afterwards, like suddenly he's playing with these wonderful technical players. Just but it doesn't matter. If that's your job. No one did it better than him. He got the ball. Even like Celta Vigo, he played alongside Mostovoy, and like
Carpin.
Yes, I think Salgado would have been his right back. Just get the ball, play it to Salgado, and he's just going to bomb down the wing. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And once again, like even in a team of stars that Chelsea were, like he was Player of the Year the first time they won the first time they won the Premier League. With Drogba, Lampard, Terry, Carvalho, etc., he was Player of the Year.
Yeah, and just what a player.
So, who are your wingers or midfield, right and left midfielders?
So right midfield, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
You're an idiot if you think otherwise. He just to come in replacing David Beckham is a tall order.
Yeah,
and you look at Beckham's last season before he left us.
Brilliant.
Like 13 goals or something mad. So to have, I mean, I remember him being on the news that he'd had his first game replacing Beckham. That game where he came on at Bolton and just absolutely destroyed their left back with skill.
He was, for the first couple of years, he was
a step over merchant.
It was all about tricks, not goals. And it took him a while to get into the player that we now know him as.
But he still managed to win the FA Cup. Really, we beat Millwall. But.
Yeah, he was the best player in the final, I guess. But once again, it was Millwall, and he was playing up against Paul Eiffel.
But there was a flashpoint. The flashpoint of Van Nistelrooy falling out with him, and Van Nistelrooy going to Ferguson, going him or me.
Yeah.
And, what a backing for Alex Ferguson to go, okay, top scorer, I'm going to go with the right winger.
It was, as well, like 2006, of course, there was the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I think this is the same year as the Van Nistelrooy leaving, I think. Basically, it's basically he's come in, and it would have been very easy
to
get to bail him out of the club, because he's got Rooney sent off in a World Cup quarter final.
Bear in mind, Rooney at this point was English football.
He was English football. He was also the star player at Man United, but it was that year that Ronaldo really became a star in his own right. And
I don't think he scored a goal against Fulham where he basically just danced through the team.
Yeah.
Which, bear in mind, Van Nistelrooy had done the same thing against Fulham the season before, but Cristiano Ronaldo was just... I know in terms of what's happening now and what happened with him moving to Real Madrid, what he did at Real Madrid, what he did at Juventus. Him in 2007, 2008, 2009, my God.
Yeah. No, just... I think Paul Clement said it best, and he says there's very few people that understand that football's a very basic game. And Ronaldo gets it most. Basically, he gets the ball, he's going to try and score. I mean, he also has the skill to get him into positions to get his shots off and everything like that. But yeah,
But it's a training regimen. If he knows to get round a player, he's going to need to cut in and curl it in. He's got the ability to do that. If he knows that he's going to have to be good in the air, he learned to jump higher than anybody else. And
yeah, no, it's the guy's an absolute robot, quite frankly, isn't he?
yeah, and I was very, very pleased to be a United fan and see him in his prime, and all right, seeing how quickly it could have turned, because if John Terry had scored that penalty,
yeah,
it would have been a very different season the next season for Ronaldo. Showboating the penalty that made us lose the Champions League.
Yeah, that would have been. But he's done all right since.
Yeah. So
who have you got on the left?
I imagine you have Arjen Robben.
I've got Arjen Robben.
I'm not allowing another Arjen Robben wank session to happen. So
I know he was only at Chelsea really for 3 years. He was the 2 years they won the Premier League, and then he was injured for basically most of the final year. And even the first year they won the title, like the first 6-7 weeks of the season, he was injured. But in that year and a half between, he was to me the most exciting footballer in the world. And it was no surprise when he went to Real Madrid. And it wasn't really until he joined Bayern that he sort of, I think, the recognition he deserves. I think as well, it wasn't the greatest Real Madrid era he joined.
Well, basically Real Madrid's Dutch era.
Yeah. And it just didn't really work. But on his day, and I know people now take the piss of the fact that, you only got one trick.
But what trick?
Stop it then.
Yeah.
No one can. It's, and I think they won one Champions League Bayern with him.
Yes.
They lost in a final to Inter Milan in this period.
They lost to Chelsea as well.
Lost to Chelsea. This is the one I was most troubled with, because he's only played so short a time in the Premier League, and I could have picked some other players, but I think his highs were so high. I just really wanted to pick him, but he was just brilliant.
I went for his replacement,
Malouda?
Florent Malouda.
Do you know what? Once again, underrated for what he did.
So in the period up from 2004 to 2012, won the Premier League, the FA Cup 3 times, and the Champions League.
Yeah.
And been a runner-up in the Champions League. Got to 2 Champions League finals, won the FA Cup 3 times, the Premier League, and also was...
He was in a World Cup final.
Yeah. Obviously, he didn't do that while he was playing in the Premier League. But Florent Malouda was... I think because of how he carried on playing and then went to Turkey and...
Yeah, But my argument is we shouldn't let that cloud our judgments on players just because maybe they go on a bit long. Not every player is Zidane and Cantona, who can go out, as a Champions League winner, win a World Cup final. Some players, should be allowed to go and play for Mets and go and play in India. It's a short career. It
doesn't make you any worse.
Doesn't make you any worse. No,
but I think he also kind of gets lost in the shuffle because there was a period of time where Chelsea always bought the best player in the French league that year.
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic, and he had everything that you'd want. And to come into a Chelsea team that was dominant and still stake your place, keep it there, and he could take it past the player, he could shoot long, he had good cross. He had everything you'd want from a winger. He was very, very good.
He was part of the Ancelotti Chelsea team, who, when they won the league, probably my favourite Premier League team, because they just felt like they could score 6 or 7 goals on anyone.
And also, you've got to remember they came into the 2008-2009 season. United had just won the Champions League.
Yeah,
they just lost the Champions League.
So no, I'm not gonna argue with that one because the only person I thought in that time, do you know what? I thought Park Ji-sung was just so underrated.
But
he was, but
he's a right winger. He was a centre mid.
He could play anywhere.
Yeah, but
and you play Ronaldo on the left. He'd play there, be fine. His highs weren't as high as Robben and Malouda.
I don't know. We said we can't judge a player, but his last season at QPR, he was cack.
Oh, he's awful. Yeah, really bad. But that was after this anyway. So, yeah. And as well, there were other players that I could have picked in the middle, like Mascherano. And I did think of Xabi Alonso, but I just thought the other players had higher highs. Who have you got up front?
So the first player I've gone for is Fernando Torres.
I haven't gone for Fernando Torres.
I felt Fernando Torres at Liverpool. And this is where I've tried to... Because this timescale works quite well.
Is it 2012 he leaves?
I believe so.
I think it might be... I'm sure I still lived in London when he joined Chelsea. 2011. So, yeah. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anyway because
he had everything you'd want from a striker. He was lightning fast. He had amazing close control. He could... I don't really think he shot long, but...
the thing is, you remember the goal against Blackburn, the volley?
Oh,
and I think his debut goal, was outside the box, powerful shot.
When he joined Liverpool, he was a player, that untucked shirt, that headband, that mane of blonde hair. You got excited when he got on the ball, and considering how much I hate Liverpool, he got you excited. I thought he was fantastic. So
I can't argue it because I was gonna put him, but instead I went with Van Persie.
It's fair.
Just his last couple of Arsenal years were brilliant. It felt like he could, as well, a lot of the players providing him the ammunition, like Nasri, Fabregas, had started to leave. And of course, 2012 is when he joins Man United and wins the league effectively.
Wins the league for United.
Yeah, before it was Ferguson's last throw of the dice to take down City.
And what a throw of the dice! What a gamble that paid off.
Yeah.
Him in the white away shirt, for me, that thing that sums it up is that goal, that volley against Villa.
Yeah.
Just Rooney scooting it 40 yards and him just over the shoulder. Just, oh, God.
But on the volley, there were very few players better than him. And, the fact that he came in, replaced Dennis Bergkamp effectively as Thierry Henry's partner, had to then
replace Henry
as the forefront of their attack. And
he had injury issues. And then when he finally kind of got round what was happening with it was like calf muscle injuries, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When he finally got free of them and just became this just unbelievable scoring threat.
Yeah. And once again, he was good. You remember the goal he scored?
Charlton.
Yeah. The
volley where he kind of, it seems to be about 8 foot in the air.
Yeah. Just dangerous with either foot. His technique was such that he could get amazing power from very little backlift. Just amazing to watch, and as well, could shoot long.
Very much so.
But yeah, no, it was just brilliant to watch. And part of a team. You got the feeling there wasn't much that scared Barcelona. But at that time, you got the feeling of the front three of Arsenal of Wilshere, Walcott and Van Persie actually scared them, because it was generally them, behind, with Fabregas behind them, it was them that generally...
if they did get knocked out of the Champions League.
They got knocked out, or if they lost a game, it was to Arsenal. They'd either win, they'd either lose 2-1 or beat them 4-1. There was
no middle ground. You'd never get a
well, they did get a draw. They got draws, but they're never boring. And I think do you remember the one where Fabregas broke his leg in the last minute and still stayed on to score a penalty? It was bonkers time. But yeah, Van Persie was just brilliant, and I could eulogise about him for days on end, but I won't, because we need to put someone else up front next to him, and I'm going to guess this is the same person.
No, because looking across at who you have, we don't have the same person.
Well, I've got Didier Drogba.
I have Dimitar Berbatov.
I was thinking of Berbatov, but I there was a couple of players I could have thought. Berbatov should be the player I love, and I know he played for Man United, but the lackadaisical sort of style he has, the way he controls a ball, moves it, it's so lovely to watch. Tevez was the exact opposite. He was just a bundle of energy.
Just 90 minutes of enterprise.
You can imagine if he was a cartoon, he'd be the Tasmanian devil, this sort of tornado of activity running towards you. But I just love as well. If you got to a final, you'd want Drogba there.
Wembley Drogba.
Wembley Drogba was scary.
Yeah.
And then
against Arsenal, Wembley against Arsenal Drogba.
He was
peak Drogba.
He seemed to go into a trance, and the Chelsea staff knew once he's in the tunnel and he's in that mode, you just can't. You don't talk to him, because you can't talk to him. He's
in the zone.
He's in the zone, and you just knew you were going to win.
Yeah.
Just there was a bit of it this year, because I looked at Alexander Pop in the lead up to the final, and I thought, God, she's got a bit of the Drogba's going on there. She just seems so focused. And then obviously I don't know if it was because she was just masking an injury and whatever else. But I don't think I've ever seen that from another player, that the sort of the mode, the game mode they go into. As well, the first couple of years, he sort of struggled to find himself, and then
unleashed hell.
Unleashed it was as if they bought Shevchenko to challenge him. Well, to challenge him to basically, be up front, replace him.
Was the best striker in Europe.
Yeah, and he was like, "Nah, fuck you. I'm number one." Had just turned into an absolute monster and was, and even when he returned, he could still have his monster days.
It was the goal he scored against Everton where he gets the ball like just off the centre circle, in my memory.
Well, it's about, I think he gets the ball about 35 yards out.
Just seemingly gets the ball on his chest, turns and just hammers the living shit out.
Unleashes hell.
It's one of these. Obviously, Chelsea owe him a debt of gratitude. We're looking at the timescale we have. He wins the Champions League final for them with the final penalty, and obviously scores the goal that takes it into extra time.
Yeah, but
it felt like Bayern Munich felt they'd won that.
Yeah. There's there's a few examples of sort of the Bayern confidence getting the best of them, and it's against English teams. But yeah, Berbatov, what a player!
The thing I liked with Berbatov is I think he got unfairly done by the press. Okay, he could look like he wasn't playing the same game as everyone else, but I felt that from a technical standpoint, he had everything. I've watched that goal he scored against the assist against West Ham about 4 million times on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you think about we talked earlier about Fabregas coming into a team of being wanted by a team that had Xavi, Iniesta, and just this amazing midfield. Ferguson brought Berbatov into a front line of Ronaldo, Rooney, and Tevez.
Yeah.
And he played, and he was top scorer in the Premier League. He was fantastic, and great at Spurs. Really,
great. Yeah, really was. Do you know what? Even when he joined Fulham,
was great at Fulham.
He was. They'd kill for someone to score 15 goals. A season. That he was sort of maligned as a luxury player, but it's the same. I don't know. Yeah, it's the same with Özil. Obviously, a bit later, but I get the feeling. I don't know why, looking so lackadaisical, even though they're not. They run the same as anyone else. In fact, they proved that Ozil actually ran more than most players. But I think that's something to enjoy, just watching a player seemingly glide around the pitch, I don't know why it's seen as a bad thing.
I don't see it as laziness. I see it as like elegance.
Elegance, yeah. That's it. It wasn't like he trudged. He glided around the pitch.
He got into the positions he needed to be in.
Yeah.
And why run when you don't need to?
It's true. And
I think also he brought in a calm which was needed when you had Rooney just being this all action all the time.
Rooney and Tevez were all action, weren't they? And even Ronaldo was starting to become direct, wasn't he? He was just, you get the ball, he was going to run to goal. Berbatov could link play. He'd get these. I remember, he scored a beautiful goal against Blackburn when you won. I think he scored a hat-trick in the game, but, he pops up in left back.
That's why we beat them 7-something.
7-1.
That was the game Venky's bought Blackburn. That's the game that sacked Sam Allardyce, wasn't it? Because look at this team we've bought.
And then they lose 7-1.
Yeah.
But yeah, he popped up at left back, plays it around in the midfield, links it into midfield. Then Lacoste goes in, and who's on the end? It's Berbatov.
To be given a kind of a free role
in that team
by Alex Ferguson shows you how good a player someone is.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But do you want to go through your team?
Very much so. So in goal, I have Petr Cech.
So do I.
I have a defence of Evra, Carvalho, Vidic, and Chimbonda.
I've got Evra, Vidic,
Carvalho, and Sanya. I've got a midfield of Ronaldo, Fabregas, Makelele and Malouda.
I've got Ronaldo, Fabregas, Makelele and Robben.
And then Torres and Berbatov. And
I've got Drogba and Van Persie.
now, this is our opinion. This is not the opinion.
We haven't gone to Football FB Ref to do this. There's no stats. It's basically on our opinion.
And what we saw from the time when we were supporting it. So if you feel very strongly...
Even if you don't, if you're just wondering, well, why Robben? Why not X? Ask us. And we might say, do you know what? We forgot.
Yeah, and do you know what? 90% of the time, it will be that.
We'll move that. But often, sometimes you can tell the sort of players, we like. It's just an absolute preference.
Okay, so if you wanted to give us your opinion, and in terms of even if you wanted to share your own team with us, you can do so. How can you do that, John?
On Twitter at the 1 to 11 pod, on Facebook at the 1 to 11 podcast, and we're on Instagram as the 1 to 11 pod. Although we're not as active on there because it's just two blokes in a kitchen. But we're also our email is in the show notes.
Very much so. So in that case, thank you very much, and we'll welcome your opinion, and hope you enjoyed ours.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.